Hello and welcome back to another tutorial on how to get the best results out of the Hytale Machinima editor. In my last tutorial we went over creating custom human characters using the Hytale asset editor, and in this video we'll be taking a look at how to animate those characters with custom animations using Blockbench. Now this has been requested in a comment under the last video, and fair warning, this is going to get a bit more technical. We're going to have to dig around in our file systems a little bit and actually edit some of those files, but I will be guiding you through every step. Now, I'm going to expect that you have followed the previous tutorial for this, so if you haven't done that already, go watch it now and come back after you've completed it. Now, before we begin, there are some requirements. So you will need to have Blockbench installed and the Hytale plugin added. Since I think anyone knows how to install software, I'm not going to go over that, but I will show you how to install the Hytale plugin. Now, once you've installed and opened Blockbench, you're going to want to head to the Files tab here, click Plugins, and under Available, it should say Hytale models here, otherwise you can just look up Hytale and you'll find it. And we're going to install that, and this is going to allow us to actually modify Hytale models. So we can close this and keep Blockbench open, because now we do need to get into a bit of nitty-gritty file system work. So if you're on Windows, you're going to want to press Windows and R, and in here you want to type %appdata%. So anyone modding Minecraft will be familiar with this. You either press OK or just press Enter, and that will open a folder right here. We are going to want to look for a folder called Hytale. And in here, we're going to go to the folder Install, Release, Package, Game, and Latest. And you're going to see an asset.zip. Now, we're going to take that asset.zip and we're going to move it to a different folder. I've already done that. So over here, I have another folder. You can just copy the assets.zip over to another folder and then extract it. So we're going to want to have an assets folder. You need to extract the zip file. In Windows, you can just right-click, click Extract All, and then start the extraction here. We are going to want to go into this folder, and then under Common and Characters, you will see Player with Face.BlockyModel. We will move that one in here, just drag it into Blockbench, and that will open Blockbench. Now, we're going to want some textures on this, so you're going to click Select Folder, and it should open the assets folder, and you can just click the player textures folder and select folder. Now, this again looks weird. We can select the player grayscale on the side here, just to have it look more like the player. And just for cosmetic sake, we're going to actually add some attachments to this as well, just so we can have a better impression of how our animation is going to look. This is completely optional since we're only going to be animating this, but I will show you how to add attachments to this. So under Collections on the right here, you can click Import Attachment. And then under Body Attachments, you're going to go to Eyes, and we can just add the eyes.blockymodel. And this is going to look familiar. We're going to have the eyes in here. Now, these eyes are going to be black and white. And from what I've seen, no one has been able to figure out how to actually color the eyes in here. So that's why we used the asset editor for that. I'm going to add some more things here really quickly. Just add under body attachments and mouth. We're going to add a mouth. And I'm also going to add some hair just for cosmetic sake. This is completely optional. We're only going to be animating this. So you can skip this part if you just want to get animating and don't care about how your animation looks in the editor. Because in the end, we're going to be applying this to the model we already have. I'm just going to add a haircut. I'm going to go to the lazy haircut here again, just because I like it. And there it is. Now, after all of this optional stuff, you can already see an Animate tab up here. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We can click the Animate tab, and we're going to see our animation window here. Now, down here, you have the timeline, which is going to contain all the keyframes of your animation. If you're watching this tutorial, I expect that you do already have some knowledge on how to animate stuff using other software. So I'm not going to go into the details of how animations work in here. The first thing we're going to want to do is add an animation up here under Add Animation. And you're going to want to give it a name. So I'm going to name this Tutorial Animation. That's all we need to do. We can click Confirm, and we're going to have this animation selected here. Now with this selected, we can start selecting some parts of the body here. Since most of the stuff we want to do has to do with rotation, you're going to switch to the rotation tool here. And if we start rotating this, you can see, oops, we're just moving the hair. That's not what we want to do. And since selecting the head can be a bit tricky, you can just do that on the right tab here. You can just click the head and you'll see all of the head is selected. Now, what we can do is just move this with the rotation tool and you will see a keyframe appear down here. So it automatically places keyframes when we have moved something. So I'm just going to move this to the initial position here and we're going to have a keyframe there. Then I'm going to go somewhere on the timeline, for example, 0.5, and I'm going to move this to the left. Now, please note, I'm not an animation genius. If you want to learn how to animate in Blockbench, do watch a tutorial for that. This tutorial is going to be solely about importing this into Hytale. Now, to just finish off our animation, I'm going to add 2 more keyframes. So I'm going to have the character look in this direction. And then for the end, I'm going to copy this keyframe with Ctrl-C. I'm going to go to the end here to 1.5 just to have it spaced out evenly. And I'm going to copy this in. You're going to see a little blue bar here. This is the start and end of your animation. So if you play this here, we can see it's just looking around. This is obviously a very simple animation and you can move all sorts of stuff here, like the arm, for example. You're going to make sure to press the top element of the arm so the whole arm is selected, and then you can move the arm around. But we don't actually want to do that right now. You can move the leg, and that just works for any part of the body. So with our animation done, you can see we have all the keyframes here. I'm going to save this. And you're going to see it's going to say .blockyAnim. I'm just going to save this in the folder where we also have our assets folder. But we're going to need to move this later. So I'm just going to save this and make sure this is a .blockyAnim. If it doesn't save as a .blockyAnim by default, you can go under Animation and then click Export BlockyAnim, and that's going to bring up the same interface. To actually import this into Hytale, we need to do a few more things. Now, first of all, we are going to want to go back to our Hytale game folder, so under App Data. If you've closed it already, you can just press Windows and R again. It should still say %appdata%. You just open it again, look for your Hytale folder, and this is where we want to be. You want to be in the main Hytale folder. So now we are going to go to User Data and then Saves. And under this, you're going to want to look for the world that you want to add the animation to. So in this case, it's the tutorial world here. We go into this world and we're going to see a folder called Mods. This is where it gets interesting. You're going to enter the Mods folder. And if you followed the previous tutorial, you will see a folder named after the asset pack you created. You're going to go into that and you're going to see a manifest.json. So what you need to do is you need to open this with any kind of text editor. So what you want to do in here is you're going to want to change includes asset pack from false to true. And you're going to save that. So that just says that we will be including assets with our pack here. So when we leave this again and we're back in this folder, we are going to want to create a new folder in here and we want to call it common. So this is the folder you should have now, common. We're going to go into that common folder and we are going to create another folder. This one we will call characters. Now it's important you name these folders exactly like this. Characters. You go into characters and we create another folder. Are you starting to see a pattern? We're going to call this animations. Great. And I think you can see where this is going. You're going to go into the animations folder. And now you're going to want to open the folder where you saved the animation in beforehand. So you can see here it says tutorial animation.blockyAnim. And then you're going to want to move or copy that into this folder, into the animations folder. So now it's going to be in there. Now, at this point, we can close Blockbench. We don't need that anymore. And we're going to go back to Hytale. And what you need to do now is we need to quit to the main menu and then just reload our world. You don't need to do this when adding new animations, because you can add multiple animations. It doesn't just work for one. But you do need to do this after you've edited that config file that we edited earlier, just to have the game realize that we are loading custom assets now. Now, once we're back in here, we are going to want to open the creative tools again, and under assets, open the asset editor, like always. And in here, if you have your asset pack selected, if you go to the tab common, you are going to see probably something like this, but you can expand this to see tutorial animation. That's good. You're going to want to have that in here, or whatever you named your animation. That means we've successfully imported the animation into Hytale. That's good. Now, how do we get the animation onto our character? We're going to go back onto server, and we're going to look for the character that we have created. In my case, that's still custom human tutorial, the one we created last time. And you want to go to editor, if you're not already there. Now, quite obviously, we're going to go to animations and add a new animation. Now you need to give this animation a name. I'm going to name this tutorial animation. Insert, and it's going to throw an arrow. That's okay. That's just because we have an empty animation now and the game doesn't like that. So you're going to scroll all the way down until you see the animation you just added. You're going to open that. Then you're going to open this animations tab right here and click the little plus icon. That's going to give you another error. That's completely okay. Now you need to open this item 0. And then under the option animation, you're going to want to click animations. Make sure you're in your asset pack up here. And then you will see tutorial animation.blockanim. That's what we want. That's the one we just imported. I'm going to double click that, and that's in there now. And at this point, we're basically ready. Now we just need to add the animation event to our Machinima project, and we're going to be done. I'm going to show you how that works too. So for this, I need to put Hytale in windowed mode again, because Hytale apparently doesn't like being captured in full screen mode. But we're going to go to our Machinima tool, and we're going to press N to bring up the Machinima editor. We're going to create a new scene. I'm going to call this animation tutorial. You can call it whatever you like. Create the scene. And as always, add an actor of type entity. I'm going to name that human 1. Again, create actor. And there we have a human. You cannot add the animation to this one because it's not our model yet. But as we talked about in the last tutorial, we can just set that to our own model, save changes, and we're going to have a model in here. That's great. That's the model we just added the animation to. So now all we need to do is click that one, go to events, add event, animation, add the event, and then edit the event. And now we need to remember what we called that animation. We called that tutorial animation. So we're going to put in tutorial animation. Make sure you type this exactly as it says in the asset editor, otherwise your game might crash. Save changes. And as we saw last time, nothing's going to happen. You're going to want to add another keyframe, then play it, and there we go. That's the animation we just created in Blockbench in the game. Now, you can obviously make much more complex and longer animations in Blockbench and add those as animation events in the Machinima editor and use that to bring your movies to life. So after a bit of animation work in Blockbench, I made another animation just to showcase what you can do with this. So we have this little animation right here that I made and imported using the same steps I just showed, just with a little bit more animation work. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. If you found this helpful, I would really appreciate a like, maybe even a subscription to the channel. Thank you, and I wish you a lot of fun with your projects. Goodbye.